This is another sign of the times, an analysis, and a commentary. The North Korean missile crisis. All the elements of the North Korean nuclear crisis. The relentless drive by Kim-jong to assemble an arsenal. The propaganda and deception swirling around his progress. The hints of a covert war by the United States to undermine the effort rather than be forced into open confrontation are now on vivid display. There was the parade in the capital's main square with wave after wave of missiles atop mobile launchers intended to convey a sense that Mr. Kim's program is unstoppable. Then came another embarrassing setback, a missile test that failed seconds after liftoff. The same pattern seen in a surprising number of launches since President Barack Obama ordered stepped-up cyber and electronic warfare attacks in early 2014. Finally, there was a test that did not happen, at least yet. A sixth nuclear explosion. It is primed and ready to go, satellite images show. What is playing out is the Cuban Missile Crisis in slow motion, but the slow motion part appears to be speeding up as President Trump and his aides have made it clear that the United States will no longer tolerate the incremental advances that have moved Mr. Kim so close to his goals, or so they say. Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson has said repeatedly that our policy of strategic patience has ended, hardening the American position. More signs. As Mr. Kim makes steady progress toward two primary goals, shrinking a nuclear weapon to a size that can fit atop a long-range missile, and developing a hydrogen bomb. With 1,000 dangers of drawing a Hiroshima-style weapons, President John F. Kennedy dealt with the Soviets and Fidel Castro in a perilous 13 days in 1962, while the roots of the Korean crisis go back a quarter century. One parallel shines through. When national ambitions, personal ego, and deadly weapons are all in the mix, the opportunities for miscalculation are many. In other words, one wrong move could start a war. The current standoff has grown more volatile. It pits a new president's vow never to allow North Korea to put American cities at risk. It won't happen, he said on Twitter on January 2nd, against a young, insecure North Korean leader who sees that capability as his only guarantee of survival. Mr. Trump is clearly new to this kind of dynamic, as he implicitly acknowledged when he volunteered that China's president had given him what amounted to a compressed seminar in Chinese-North Korean relations, whatever that means. He emerged surprised that Beijing did not have the kind of absolute control over its impoverished neighbor that he insisted it did last year. After listening for 10 minutes, I realized it's not so easy, he said. It's not what you would think. Mr. Trump's National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, gave voice to the difficult balancing act on North Korea on Sunday. General McMaster, himself a military historian, said on ABC's This Week that while the president had not ruled out any option, it was time for the United States to take action short of armed conflict so we can avoid the worst in dealing with this unpredictable regime. Translation: preemptive strikes are off the table, at least for now. Again, or so they say. Why would I call China a currency manipulator when they are working with us on the North Korean problem? Mr. Trump asked in a Twitter post, making it clear that everything, including the trade issues he vowed to solve as a candidate, could be a bargaining chip when it comes to defanging the North. The North is trying to create the sense that it is too late for any such defanging, that it has reached a tipping point in its nuclear push. That is why Mr. Kim stood for hours as so many missiles rolled by, carried on portable launch vehicles that can be hidden in hundreds of tunnels bored into North Korean mountains. For all the talk of an eventual intercontinental missile that can reach the United States, one of the stars of the show was a missile of lesser range, known as the KN-15. It is a solid fuel rocket that can be launched in minutes. Unlike liquid-fueled missiles, which take hours of preparation, that means they are far less vulnerable to a preemptive strike from an American missile launched from a base in Japan or from a carrier strike group, like the one Mr. Trump has put off the Korean coast. The KN-15 was successfully tested in February. The big takeaway is that they're taking this seriously, said Jeffrey Lewis, a North Korean specialist at the Middlebury Institute for International Studies at Monterey in California. They're trying to develop operational systems that might actually survive on the ground, perhaps even enduring blows meant to leave them crippled or destroyed. But Mr. Kim's otherwise triumphant day took an embarrassing turn when the missile test failed. North Korea used to be pretty successful at launching missiles, so much so that its missiles were sold around the world. Then its launches started failing, suggesting the presence of a hidden Washington hand. Its big setbacks have revolved around the most threatening missile it has so far flight tested. Last year, the missile had a failure rate of 88%. Mr. Kim was reported to have ordered an investigation into the possibility of foreign sabotage, and the missile has remained unseen since. While cyber warfare programs may buy some time, they are not solutions. Equally worrisome to Washington officials and private analysts is the North's steady progress over a decade in developing nuclear warheads that are small enough to fit atop long-range missiles. By definition, the atomic work appears to be far less open to prying eyes and foreign sabotage. The explosive nuclear tests take place in tunnels dug deep beneath a rugged mountain. They've done 5 tests in 10 years, said Siegfried S. Hecker, a Stanford professor who once directed the Los Alamos Weapons Laboratory in New Mexico, a birthplace of the atomic bomb. You can learn a lot in that time. So then, what happens next? Yes, this too is another sign of the end of times as we know them, transition days, which is a time of extraordinary changes and happenings. Because it's still about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations? And that should be a very important question to ask. Again, Revelation chapter 16, verse 8. The 4th angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and it was allowed to scorch people with fire. 9. They were scorched by the fierce heat, and they cursed the name of God who had power over these plagues. They did not repent and give him glory. 10. The 5th angel poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and its kingdom or nation was plunged into darkness. People gnawed their tongues in anguish. 11. And cursed the God of heaven for their pain and sores. They did not repent of their deeds. 12. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, to prepare the way for the kings and leaders from the east. 13. And I saw, coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet 3 unclean spirits like frogs. 14. For they are demonic spirits performing signs, who go abroad to the kings and leaders of the whole world, to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty. 15. Behold, I am coming like a thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake, keeping his garments on, that he may not go about naked and be seen exposed. 16. And they assembled them at the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Yes, it's time for prophecy to be fulfilled. And all these are more signs.